Hello everyone, we are Manufaktura Języków Obcych, a language school from Bielsko-Biała, Poland. We've been operating since 2009. We teach the following languages: English, Spanish, Italian, French, German, and of course Polish. We'd like to invite you to listen to our students who talk about their passions and hobbies. Follow us on social network. Let's get started.
Welcome you all to Manufaktura Podcast in English 2022. We are back again with new ideas to interview new interesting people around the world. Here we have two young folks from Bielsko, bright minds, very smart, and they're eager to interview our guest, which we'll talk about later. Who are we interviewing today? Let's have a short introduction about our hosts. Our first host is Matthew, and other host is Bruno. Matthew, could you please tell us about yourself a bit?
Hi everyone, my name is Matthew and I go to Aviation Technical School in Katowice, and my hobby is ride bike on mountains.
Great. What about you, Bruno?
Hi, I'm Bruno and I like fencing.
Wow, that's quite a sport, isn't it?
Yeah,
And how long you been doing this sport?
like year.
Wow, and what do you like about this sport?
There's no way to know what to do. You have to improvise.
Do you find this sport dangerous?
Not really.
Well, it looks dangerous. Two people fighting with sword. One could harm each other. Don't you think so?
No, there is a lot of safety because you have to wear special things to not cut yourself.
So protective gears are important in this sport.
Yeah, very.
Right, coming back to you, Matthew, you said you are studying something related to aviation.
Yes,
What are your plans? What do you want to be in future?
so this is hard to say because I don't know which job in aviation I would be work in future. Maybe a flying attendant or duty officer on airport or airport staff.
Great. So I was told that you both are in first year of high school. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
So could you please tell our audience, how was the experience of first year in high school? As it's about to end, summer's coming, there will be vacation, you'll be all gone enjoying sunny beaches around the coast. So how was the first year of high school for both of you? Bruno?
So it was pretty stressful in the beginning because I didn't know anyone. But it's been some time and I met the people and I feel quite good.
So how would you rate your first year of high school experience out of 10?
7.
Great, wonderful. 7 seems really nice rating for a year. Well, Matthew, what about you?
So you're wrong. I finishing a second class.
Wow, so you're in second year of high school.
Yes.
Interesting. So let's talk about a bit your experience in the
so
second year of high school.
It was funny and little nervous because this year was be very hard for me, and
No, I can imagine. School is always hard and difficult. I remember my times in high school, it was insane, especially because of amount of assignments I was given to, and not having enough time for myself was always difficult. So I relate with you, Matthew. Well, moving on to the next part of our podcast, here we have our guest. Who do we have? Bruno, could you please introduce to our guest of the podcast?
Hello. Please welcome Gautam.
Hi. Hi, I'm Gautam.
Hi.
Yeah, it seems weird because we have known each other for quite a while, and we had lessons together many times. So Yeah, I understand. Introducing all over again to your own teacher seems a bit funny. But anyway, yes, I was told you guys are here to interview me and you have prepared some interesting questions. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
So, who do you want to start then?
I will start.
Sure.
So, you lived in India for quite a bit.
That is true. I was born and raised in India. I lived 24 years of my early life there.
Yeah, so I think you travel pretty much across the India.
Yes, my father was in army, so I had a chance. Not many of the people have the chance to travel across the country, and I could proudly say that I've traveled most of the parts in India. Although it's a huge country to explore, given the circumstances that the train or the flights are the only possible way for someone to just explore the other side of the country, I was given those options. So I'm pretty much privileged in that case. My father moved from one place to another every 3 or 4 years. That gave me a very solid foundation of exploring places that made me curious about exploring things. And you know, when you're traveling in India, it's always very diverse. India can always surprise you.
So, what do you think is the best place in India?
Well, that's hard to answer. Why? Because the country is so diverse, as I said earlier. Diverse not only in geographical cases, the country is diverse with people, languages, food. Of course, geographical conditions are very diverse as well. You could find highest mountains in the world from the warmest place on earth as well, from rainforest to the tropical beautiful beaches. So yeah, you have everything in one country. I know you could say US is another place with very similar geographical conditions, but you know what makes India interesting? It's not just the geography. It's also the people. People look different from one another. They speak different languages. They have 1,000 different varieties of food, rich with spices and aroma. Well, you asked me a question about the best place to visit. Well, you need to ask yourself, what do you want to see? If you want to see beautiful mountains, India has to offer you that. India can offer you that. If you want to explore warmest desert with warmest, like hottest day and coldest night, riding a camel, yeah, India can offer that as well. If you want to explore coastal areas, tropical conditions, India can offer that as well. And if you're into white sand, blue water beaches, India has such islands where you can explore such things as well. So anyway, it's always a question about what do you want. India can provide you that.
All right.
So Matthew, do you have a question for me?
Yes. Is Poland a good place to live for people who don't know Polish?
I think I'm a living example of that. It's my almost fifth year living in Poland. I never came across like extreme situation. I know it's not very common to find people who speak English with you, but they always try somehow. If they don't know themselves, they will ask somebody around to help them out. I always find people really warm and welcoming. Well, few exceptions. well, such places, such peoples are everywhere, all across the world. In general, Poland is a great place to live and explore. Has a wide variety in landscapes. And since mountains are not as high as in India, it's easier and it's like easily accessible for anybody to go to the mountains. That's what I love about living in this country.
So you said something about mountains, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So India had the Himalayas, yeah?
Yeah, there's a great range of Himalayan mountains in India.
Yeah. Did you been there?
I've been to one of the range near Dharamshala. It's in northern state of Himachal Pradesh. If I'm not wrong, it's about 3,000 meter high. I mean, the city is located there, and there are other peaks beyond that. So if you want to go to some hike, there is a Triund peak. It's a beautiful location. You can get the huge panoramic view of Himalayan mountains from there. So yeah, I lived in Dharamshala. I lived in Dharamkot. It's a bit above Dharamshala. An interesting thing about Dharamshala, it's the place where Dalai Lama lives. He has his house, his temples are there. So it's quite a big base for Tibetan people since they are living in exile in India. So if somebody wants to explore real, authentic Tibetan culture, this is the place they should go to.
All right.
So India was a very multicultural country. So what the official language in India?
Well, that's an interesting question because many people think it's Hindu. Or do you speak Indian? People often ask me that question, and they do not know that India does not have just one or two languages. India has more than 200 or 300 languages, if I'm not mistaken. There were even more, but many of the languages are just dying because people have stopped using them. Currently, there are around 22 official languages recognized by the central government. And each state, because there are 29 states in India and few union territories, so each state has their own official languages. So the state that I belong from, we have two official languages, which is Hindi and English. Well, you will find English pretty common across the country. Well, there are not many English speakers, but still, since the country has a huge population, even 20-30% of English speaker could make more than 100-200 million speakers, which is way more than America or any other countries in the world. India has more English speaker than any other world. Well, I could tell you a story about when I moved to South to do my master's. There was the state had a different language. People looked a bit different than I do. They wore different clothes. They listened to different kind of music. They ate different food. So you can imagine how diverse this country could be. And yeah, there are many languages, as I said. And if you wonder what are the official languages, so there are two major languages, which is Hindi and English. Well, there are other languages like Bengali, Punjabi, Marathi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and many others.
Which religion must be popular in India?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Matthew. Thank you for asking. If you remember, at the beginning I said it's a very diverse country, not just because of the geographical conditions, not only the languages, but also religion. India is a home to all major religion of the world. And also India is home to birthplace of 4 major religion of the world. That includes Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and a few others as well. Sikhism, yeah, right. The most popular one, or I could say majority of the people in India comes under the umbrella of Hinduism. Again, Hinduism has different sect and different ideas of school. For the true believer, true practitioner, Hinduism not a religion, it's a way of life. The way you live your life describe what kind of person you are. So in short, in Hinduism or people in India, they don't have a very solid ideas about God because it was never the goal of Indian people. They always believed in seeking the truth. So truth is salvation for Indian people. And Hinduism is the most popular one, if that's what you wanted to know.
Yeah. So you said that you were in Poland for 4 or 5 years, yeah? So what are the differences between people in India and Poland?
Well, I could pick a lot. There are many similarities as well, but since you're asking me about the differences, so starting with the physical appearance-wise, people have a different facial features. They have different sort of nose, eyes, skin complexions. Well, in India, you could also find people with similar skin complexion as Poles, white. Well, majority of people in India have a bit darker skin tone. Let's say creamy white or light brown to dark brown. All kind of skin tone you can find. So major difference, the first you could see is that. The second difference, what I can point out is the families the bonding between families are stronger. People are very much connected. to each other, not just their family member, but also their extended families. And during festivals, you will always find people coming together under a roof and celebrating it together. That is something similar with Polish culture as well. During Christmas or Easter, you will also find many of your relatives getting together and celebrating it as well. Speaking of difference, the financial situation is a bit different. The per capita income is lower in India than Poland. So it's very obvious to see a bit of poverty on the street in India, which is not very visible in Poland. When it comes to people, I think even now in 21st century, majority of Indian people like to save money for the future, which I have seen a trend in Poland now where people like to spend money. They want to live now and here. They are very much a believer of YOLO, you only live once. So yeah, that's one of the major difference I can point out. There are a few others. For example, staying with family, because in Indian scenarios, an adult, even after 18 years of their age, they still live with their parents, which is not very common in Poland. People often move out of their house when they turn 18. They tend to work while they're studying, which is not very common in India. It's the parents who pays for the education while they're studying. So there are a few of these differences I could think of, which I have on top of my head right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Interview.
Yeah.
All right, it was great being here with two young minds from Bielsko-Biała, Matthew and Bruno. Well, they had a brilliant questions for our guests today. It was fun hearing all of them. Also, it was interesting to know two young minds. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is where we end Manufaktura Podcast English 2022.